Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this week we have been speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, entitled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. So we have been giving many lectures in different parts of Houston, and naturally people want to know more about Lord Shiva. So I have selected one verse and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The purport is by Prabhupada, and the verse describes something about Lord Shiva and his consort Durga. So sometimes people want to know what is the relationship between Krishna, Shiva, Durga, Goddess Kali. So today will be very helpful. Atmaramo piyastvasya loka kalpasya radase Shaktya yukto vicharati gauraya bhagavan bhavaha. Translation. Lord Shiva, the most powerful demigod, second only to Lord Vishnu, is self-sufficient. Although he has nothing to aspire for in the material world, for the benefit of those in the material world, he is always busily engaged everywhere and is accompanied by his dangerous energies like Goddess Kali and Goddess Durga. Purport. Lord Shiva is known as the greatest devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is known as the best of all types of Vaishnavas. Vaishvananam yatha Shambhu. Consequently, Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya, the disciplic succession known as the Rudra Sampradaya. Just as there is a Brahma Sampradaya coming directly from Lord Brahma, the Rudra Sampradaya comes directly from Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is one of the 12 great personalities, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20. Swayambhur Narada Sambhu Komar Kapilo Manu Pralado Janako Bhishmo Baliravyaya Shakira Vayam. These are 12 great authorities in preaching God consciousness. The name Shambhu means Lord Shiva. His disciplic succession is also known as the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. And the current Vishnu Swami Sampradaya is also known as Vallabha Sampradaya. The current Brahma Sampradaya is known as the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Even though Lord Shiva appeared to preach Mayavad philosophy at the end of his pastime in the form of Shankaracharya, he preached the Vaishnava philosophy, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda Mudhamate. He stressed worshipping Lord Krishna or Govinda 3 times in this verse, and especially warned his followers that they could not possibly achieve deliverance or mukti simply by word jugglery and grammatical puzzles. If one is actually serious to attain mukti, he must worship Lord Krishna. That is Sripad Shankaracharya's last instruction. I think I must speak a little bit as we go along, because there are so many points. So I will interrupt the reading and speak something and then carry on. First of all, Prabhupada mentions that Lord Shiva is the best of all the devotees of Vishnu, or Krishna. In other words, he is the best of Vaishnavas, and he is therefore described Vaishvananam Yatha Shambhu, best of the Vaishnavas. Sometimes Lord Shiva is addressed as Bhagavan, but we understand that a great Vaishnav devotee can also be called Bhagavan, although Bhagavan means the Supreme Lord. Sometimes Narada Muni is also addressed as Bhagavan, but we don't think that Narada Muni is the Supreme Lord. In other words, someone who is such a great devotee that his entire time and activities are spent in glorifying God may be addressed like this. Nowadays it has become popular to call an ordinary man by the name Bhagavan. Each year someone comes from India with a new Bhagavan arrives from India. And so now there must be at least 5 to 10 Bhagavans running around the planet competing. It is quite amazing, however, that although there are now 5 to 10 Bhagavans who consider themselves to be like the Supreme Lord, all of them running around on the planet, that the planet is becoming more and more inauspicious. There are more and more problems. Although so many Bhagavans are now in India, we see that India is overcome by so many different problems. On the other hand, when Krishna was personally present on this planet, he rid the planet of so many problems. So the real Lord will actually clear away the problems, whereas the modern day so-called competitors of God are often themselves creating problems. It mentions here that Lord Shiva has a sampradaya. A sampradaya is a family, just like each of you have your family. And sometimes people can trace their families through some generations. So a generation or lineage means a sampradaya. There is different sampradayas, and Lord Shiva himself is the head of one of these. A sampradaya is a spiritual family line, not by blood. It's not passed on by a blood relationship, but by guru-disciple relationships. So Lord Shiva is one such head of a sampradaya. It mentions here that his sampradaya is known as the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Rudra Sampradaya, then Vishnu Swami is a great acharya. And in that same line, Ballabhacharya comes. Many of you know the name of Ballabhacharya. So he comes originally in that line coming from Vishnu Swami, who is in the Sampradaya coming from Shiva. So it's a bona fide Vaishnav Sampradaya. The current Brahma Sampradaya, that is the Sampradaya which starts with Brahma. There are 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. One begins with Shiva, one begins with Brahma, one begins with Lakshmi, and one begins with the 4 Kumaras. And all of them worship Krishna. All 4 of them revere Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Krishna, or if not Krishna, then Narayan. But generally they all regard Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. So in the Brahma Sampradaya, it is known as Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Madhva means Madhvacharya, and Gaudiya means Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya accepted initiation in a line coming from Madhvacharya, and Madhvacharya's line is coming from Brahma. So our family lineage, spiritual family lineage, just like we are disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. His Guru Maharaj's name is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His Guru Maharaj is Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. His Guru Maharaj is Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. This line goes back about to 500 years when there was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then before Lord Chaitanya, there was many other gurus in this line. And originally, many thousands of years ago, it goes back to the time of Vyasadeva. He is in our line. Madhvacharya, his guru is considered to be Vyasadeva because he directly was instructed by Srila Vyasadeva. Vyasa's guru is Narada Muni, and Narada Muni's guru is Lord Brahma, his father. And Brahma's guru is directly Govinda, Krishna. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaya. Krishna instructed Brahma in the heart. So when you look for a guru, everyone should have a guru. When you look for a guru, you're supposed to see that the guru is coming in this type of line of disciplic succession or sampradaya. Otherwise, it means that somewhere along the line, someone just, did some reading on their own and began the line by themselves. That is not acceptable. In the strictest way, if actually you want to achieve success, you have to be connected to Krishna through this Guru Parampara. Here it mentions that Lord Shiva appeared in the Kali Yuga in a special incarnation known as Shankaracharya. Everybody knows the name of Shankaracharya. He was a very famous teacher, and he introduced what is known as the philosophy of Mayavad. Shankaracharya had a very unusual service to perform. It is mentioned in the Puranas that the Lord Narayan ordered Shiva that you should appear in the Kali Yuga, and you should appear as a Brahmin, and you should introduce impersonal philosophy. You should take the Vedas and explain them with an impersonal view. So Shankaracharya is that person who did this. But Prabhupada mentions here that even Shankaracharya, who was actually an incarnation of Lord Shiva, at the end of his life, he could not tolerate having to always preach impersonalism. So he finally said at the end, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Mudha Mate. Mudha means you foolish people who are foolish like asses. You fools. He was speaking to his disciples that although you have heard me speak all this impersonalism, and although you are now believing in personalism, actually you're all fools. You should worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. Herein it is mentioned that Lord Shiva is always accompanied by his material energy, Shaktya Gauraya. Material energy, Goddess Durga or Goddess Kali, is always under Lord Shiva's control. Goddess Kali and Durga serve him by killing all the asuras or demons. Sometimes Kali becomes so infuriated that she indiscriminately kills all kinds of asuras. There is a popular picture of Goddess Kali in which she wears a garland composed of heads of the asuras. Have you seen that picture? Most of you have seen Goddess Kali, and she has a mala, but not from pushpa. From the skulls of the heads of the demons. And she holds in her left hand a captured head, and in her right hand a great kaja, or chopper, a big chopping knife, for killing asuras. Great wars are symbolic representation of Kali's devastation of the asuras, and are actually conducted by the goddess Kali. Shristi Sthiti Sadhana Saktir Eka. Asuras try to pacify the goddess Kali or Durga by worshipping her in material opulence. But when the asuras become too intolerable, Goddess Kali does not discriminate in killing them wholesale. Asuras do not know the secret of the energy of Lord Shiva, and they prefer to worship Goddess Kali or Durga or Lord Shiva for material benefit. Due to their demoniac character, they are reluctant to surrender to Lord Krishna, as indicated by Bhagavad Gita. Namam duskritina mudha prapadyante naradama maya pritagyana asuram bhavam ashrita. Lord Shiva's duty is very dangerous because he has to use the energy of Goddess Kali or Durga. In another popular picture, the Goddess Kali is sometimes seen standing on the prostrate body of Lord Shiva, which indicates that sometimes Lord Shiva has to fall down flat in order to stop Goddess Kali from killing the asuras. Since Lord Shiva controls the great material energy goddess Durga, worshippers of Lord Shiva attain very opulent positions within this material world. Under Lord Shiva's direction, a worshipper of Lord Shiva gets all kinds of material facilities. In contrast, a Vaishnava or worshipper of Lord Vishnu gradually becomes poorer in material possessions, because Lord Vishnu does not trick his devotees into becoming materially entangled by possessions. Lord Vishnu gives his devotees intelligence from within, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddha yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who constantly are devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Thus, Lord Vishnu gives intelligence to his devotee so that the devotee can make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. Since a devotee has nothing to do with any kind of material possession, he does not come under the control of Goddess Kali or the Goddess Durga. Lord Shiva is also in charge of Tamagun, or the mode of ignorance in this material world. His potency, the Goddess Durga, is described as keeping all living entities in the darkness of ignorance. Yadevi sarva bhuteshu nidrurupam samastitaha. Both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are incarnations of Lord Vishnu, but Lord Brahma is in charge of the creation, whereas Lord Shiva is in charge of the destruction, which he carries out with the help of his material energy, Goddess Kali or Goddess Durga. Thus, in this verse, Lord Shiva is described as being accompanied by dangerous potencies, Sakti Gauraya, and that is the actual position of Shiva. So, Lord Shiva is the husband of Goddess Durga or Kali. And as it mentions here, Goddess Kali is the material energy personified, the powerful material energy. And she is often worshipped by so many different asuras. So this should give you some idea. Asuras worship Goddess Kali. For example, who is a famous asura? You can say Ravana. Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And to be a devotee of Lord Shiva means that if you worship Shiva, then his Shakti, Goddess Kali, will bless you with so many material benefits. So we see that, for example, Ravana was very opulent. He had tremendous opulence, which could not be equaled by practically anyone. And Prabhupada points out in the purport that often it is seen that those who are devotees of Shiva or Kali or Durga become very rich materially, whereas those who are devotees of Vishnu gradually become poorer and poorer. So you shouldn't feel bad if your material fortunes are diminishing, because here it says that that is not necessarily a bad sign. Of course, now we are sitting here going into the 21st century, and you have all come from foreign places, maybe some of you are locally born, and you are all accustomed to thinking that material opulence is the sign of God's grace upon you. In other words, it's hard for you to accept that becoming poor is a sign of fortune. If we were living a century ago, you might have been able to accept this, but now it is not acceptable. In fact, in America, it was never acceptable, because America was founded by people who were dissatisfied in various ways and came here to make their fortune. And America has always been a place where people come to make their material fortune. So when they hear that by worshipping Vishnu, their fortunes will gradually diminish, they become very hesitant to want to do so. And therefore we see that people are not very keen on surrendering fully to Vishnu, because Vishnu's another name is Hari. And Hari means one who takes away everything. Therefore we see that often when our sannyasis go to door, people are very much afraid to let them in. Because they say, we know what you have come for. You are the servants of Hari, and Hari means one who takes everything away. Now the question is, what is it that is actually being taken away? The fact of the matter is that our material possessions are actually the sources of our misery. The more material possessions we have, the more we become attached. And the more attachment that develops, the more difficult it is to give these things up at some point. Of course, you're thinking that this is Christmas time, and this is the time when we're going to get more possessions. But actually, the person who gives is more fortunate than the person who receives. Because the more you receive, the more you will want. It is like a fire. The bigger the fire gets, the more fuel it requires to keep it going. So the more and more material things you get, the more material desires increase. For example, it is noticed that people who are very rich want to become more and more rich. But people who are poor gradually learn to make do. At least it used to be like that. Now everybody wants to get rich. The reason why everybody wants to get rich is that people don't know what real riches are. Real riches are judged in terms of how much we have love for God. A really wealthy person is one who has always the association of saintly devotees of the Lord. A fortunate person is he who can always chant the glories of the Lord and engage in the Lord's service. That is actual fortune. That is real wealth. Real wealth cannot be calculated simply by material possessions. So, it's interesting to note that people who are very big materialists especially prefer to worship Shiva and Durga. And these materialists, the more material possessions they get, the more their fever for material desires increases, and they do so many sinful things. And gradually, when their demoniac material nature becomes very big, then Goddess Durga personally kills them. So this is an interesting fact, that they're worshipping the deity of Durga or Kali, and when they finally get the desires fulfilled by the deity, she chops off their head. Very good idea. If anybody ever would think about this, they would wonder, what is the point of all of this? But people don't think very deeply. Here it says that sometimes Goddess Durga becomes so upset, seeing so many demons, that Lord Shiva has to throw himself down in front of her to stop her from going on a great killing rampage. Now, therefore it is said that Lord Shiva is known as Tamasi. Tamasi means one who is in charge of Tamagun, because this type of activity is certainly in Tamagun, in the mode of ignorance. He is not in the mode of ignorance, but the whole act of destruction is personified in the mode of ignorance. On the other hand, we see the deity of Krishna. Certainly he is not Tamasi, certainly he is not Rajasic, but he is Suddha Sattvic. Krishna is not concerned neither with creation, maintenance, or destruction. Why? Because his guna avatars, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are doing all this work for him. While Brahma is creating, while Vishnu is maintaining, while Shiva is destroying, Krishna is playing on his flute. He has so much free time. If someone says, how do we know Krishna is God? This morning one girl asked me, how do you know Krishna is God? Because he has nothing else to do but play all day. This is one answer I could give her. Brahma has to work so hard. Even Vishnu has got to worry through his different devas, doing the maintenance job. And destruction is a big task, demolition. But Krishna, he simply plays all the time. He is performing his Nitya Lila, eternal pastimes of pleasure. So, we are therefore worshipping Sri Sri Radha and Nilamadava, Radha and Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as it is mentioned here, Lord Shiva, Goddess Kali, and all of the various gods and goddesses, they all worship Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Shristi Stiti Palaya Sadhana Saktir Eka Chaiva Yasya Bhuvanani Vivarti Durga Icchanurupam api yasya chachestati sa Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Brahma prays to Govinda, Krishna, because he says that the goddess Durga, or Kali, is performing her work of material creation, maintenance and destruction under Krishna's direction. Similarly, Brahma prays also that Shiva is a transformation of Krishna. When Krishna comes for the purpose of material creation, Krishna's form in this material world for creation becomes Shiva. Shiva is the transformation of God. But Krishna is the Godhead's complete, supreme, and untouched by any material energy. So we are worshipping this Sri Krishna. So we're going to stop here. You're all impatient. Now the temple is full for the Arati ceremony. And we are going to request you all now to kindly... we have any announcement? Okay. Sunday feast sponsor we'll do now or after? What do you want to do? Okay. Please say who it is today. So after hearing the sponsor of our Sunday feast, we will be all standing for the Arati ceremony.